Thanks for your patience. I guess a lot of you guys are waiting for our next signing, and I think I was pretty clear on time was not really important to me. It's about quality and making sure that whoever comes into this football club is of the right ilk and fits in from a characteristic point of view, personality point of view, and also quality. Okay, it's an area that I wanted to add competition in. Max Burgess is someone that I've known for a number of years now, playing in the NPL. He's had a couple of stints with A-League clubs, so he understands professionalism with Sydney FC and Newcastle as well. Things probably didn't go according to plan as far as Max is concerned, and we see that with a lot of young kids. It's tough to get a break in the A-League, and he took it upon himself to get out of his comfort zone, which is very important as far as I'm concerned with players, and went to Portugal. And had a tough time over there as well. Learnt a new language, which helps, particularly with some of the players in this team. But again, reflected upon himself and saw where he was in his football career and thought, okay, it's probably best time to go back home. And while I was at home, I got to watch Sydney Olympic play quite a few times, and he was an absolute standout. And so we kept tabs on him. I certainly did. You know, spoke to his coach up aside, who I played with as well, and you know, one of the best players in that competition. And the New South Wales Premier League is probably the best competition as far as I'm concerned. And you know, he sets up a lot of goals. He scores a lot of goals himself as well. Attitude is fantastic, great in the dressing room too. And like I said, we needed to add something extra there. And speaking to Max, you know, he was everything that I expected in terms of what I'd heard about him as well. It happened pretty quickly as well. So again, credit to Max. You know, we had a chat while we were in Sydney in Coogee, and we played against his team. And then I asked him to train with us the next couple of days thereafter, and then he had some time against Sydney FC as well, come off the bench and did extremely well. So in the few minutes that he had, so all of those things, you know, made us pretty sure that he was the right one or the right player for Wellington Phoenix.
Next for you, can you just talk us through your mindset and coming here to Wellington, and I guess what attracted you to the club?
Look, there's a few things really, to be honest. It's an exciting opportunity for me as a player to work under Mark, and to join this squad of players is really exciting for me. There's a lot of experience in that squad that I want to learn off, and yeah, it's an exciting time to be part of this club.
Can you just give us an idea of what your preferred role is in a football sense? Are you an out-and-out number 9? Are you more of a wide player?
No. I'm attacking midfielder. Like to kind of get involved in the play as much as I can, and try to feed the strikers and make a difference really.
And I suppose just in the short time you've had with the guys so far, have you already seen, you know, the building blocks for some good relationships in terms of the actual football styles?
Yeah, 100%, definitely. The boys are really tight knit. It's a family environment. Probably one of the fittest group of boys I've been amongst, and they've made me feel welcome from day one. And yeah, as I said, it's an exciting time to be part of the team, and yeah, you can really see that the boys are really tight knit already.
Mark, you've been chasing probably a few players for this sort of position. Is there anything which came next to these others that you're looking at?
Probably because I knew him. I think that also helps. I mean, it's not to say that we haven't had our tentacles out all over the place, you know, keeping tabs on players. But the fact that I knew him is always in the back of my mind. I just wanted to see, you know, other players in different positions, the makeup of the team, the balance of the team, and what works and what we needed. You know, like I said, I know we're short on numbers, but, and I think I spoke to you, Liam, about this as well. I'm quite content with what I had, you know, in terms of going into the season, knowing that also that we had enough room to build, and we've got a lot of plans in place and things like that. But the more games we played, particularly in Sydney, against stronger opposition, you know, made my decision a bit easier and clearer in terms of what we needed to improve. And Max was always on the radar. You know, he probably didn't know at the time, but we did a lot of work in terms of, you know, keeping our eyes on him. You know, we had people out in Adelaide watching him play as well. He scored a bomb from 30 metres in the first couple of minutes there as well. So it's an interesting one, because on the back of that, Adelaide decides to get in touch with Max as well, and you know, and that's just how it works, and how, you know, good players are always going to get attention from people. But it's certainly an area that, having, you know, like I said, tried players in different positions, that I needed some depth. Not to say that Max has come here just to be part of the squad. You know, our conversation was to challenge himself and push for a starting berth and make it his own. He's certainly got a lot of confidence. He's a very intelligent guy, by the way. So I'm a little bit worried about that too when it comes to reviewing and going through analysing. But it's great to have in the team, and like I said, he's fitted in perfectly. And that's what First of all, players. When new players come in, they test you. They test you as a person. But normally, they start to bring you in when they see the quality on the pitch. And Max has showed that right from the outset. And when players see that they can add something to your team, they bring you in very quickly. And so I wasn't surprised to see how quickly they took him in, because they saw him in the first session at Leichhardt Oval after we played, in his combination with Roy Krishna, and then they were just, it's like they've been playing together for 5 years. They just had this innate, I guess, way of playing together, which was incredible. Not to say that he's going to get a start straight away, but it does help when I see that kind of thing come to fruition.
Quite a bit of competition in that. You look at Roy, Nathan, David Williams, Mitch Nichols, Sudbury, and now Max, sort of in that, I guess, that attacking midfield, striking kind of area. Is that an indication of the way that you want to play this season?
Yeah.
That sort of player?
Yeah, look, I'm all about quality, but certainly when you've got Roy Krishna and Nathan Burns to start off with, you've got to try and find the perfect recipe when you've got the players that you've got. I've had to change my own philosophy somewhat in terms of what I'm used to as a coach, right? Because of coming to the environment of the football club that I'm at, and the players that I've got too. And so you've got to be adaptable, and I've said to my players that they have to be as well. So that's been a challenge for me personally as a coach, is having a certain philosophy, and then trying to adapt and find what works with his team, and speaking to some pretty. Carlo Ancelotti gave me some fantastic advice when I was doing some work in Europe and looking around, is that you've got to adapt to what you have. It doesn't happen the other way around all the time. And I thought that was some fantastic advice, because everyone has different situations, and I can have a real good long talk with a lot of people about some people who are very strict in their ways, but until they actually find themselves in that position themselves, they can talk a lot and they can say a lot, but until you put yourself in those shoes, only then will you realise what it's about. And I've seen coaches, and I've spoken to people like Paul Ocon as well at the Mariners, who had a certain philosophy in the A-League, and he, if he could have, he would have done things differently. Okay, and that's where we're at. I'm not at the development phase. Yes, I develop and teach my players, but I'm at the performance phase. Okay, and I'm under no illusion about probably the most important thing, is results. But like I said, results are different. Yes, we clearly want results. We had a good one last Friday, but we need to build on that. And like I said, it's about adapting. But I know what I want. When you see a good player come along, you try and get them. Ultimately, if they're good footballers, that's the most important thing. And then they've got to be good people and build into what we're trying to play. Now, yes, we could be versatile and adaptable in terms of our shape and style, and I think you guys have already seen us play different shapes and systems. But it's not about systems for me, anyway. It's about what suits us in any given week, and having a game plan that's going to achieve the final result, which is a win. And we've got quality in the top third, as he said now. He just adds to it. Max just adds. For me, he's the best 10 in the country in the next level. And he's deserved the chance based on this. I'm glad that he got rewarded for it, and then now it's up to Max to show his worth.
You talked about adapting to what you've got. So what have you got here?
I've got a very competitive football team, and they showed it on Friday against Melbourne Victory, against a full-strength side. We're very quiet here in New Zealand when things are negative or don't go your way, but I thought that even though it was a friendly, was a superb result and a fantastic performance. I've got a very competitive team that wants to do well in this league.
Max, Mark alluded right at the top to you having a couple of testing times or tough maybe seasons in the past few years. So where do you see yourself as a player now on a personal level to maybe the player that had the taste of the A-League a few seasons ago?
Yeah, definitely. I've gone through learning curves as a player first and foremost, but also as a person. Going overseas, experiencing new culture, new way of life. That's added to me as a person, and given me that drive to come back and really show what I've got. Had a really rewarding season just then with Sydney Olympic, and I'm just ambitious and looking forward to the opportunity ahead.
Mark, how will you look to use Max this year, and have you already thought of ways in terms of on the field that you're going to look to use him?
He's a number 10 for me. I mean, he's shown he can play in wide areas as well, but I think he's the sort of guy that his work ethic is incredible. Huh? So he's not just a number 10 that wants the ball or wants to play when the ball's at his feet or when his team's got the ball. You know, there's a lot of stuff where I watched him and kept a close eye on him. When they lost possession, they played a certain way, but he worked extremely hard to get back in and help the midfield out and get behind the ball. His work ethic was extremely, to be recommended, and to be rewarded, and that's why he's here. But he's a number 10 for me, and I play with a 10 as well, sometimes 2.
Where are you at with your squad then, and heading into this season?
In terms of, that's
the players that you got, what you'd still like to have, those sorts of things.
Yeah, we're looking. Look, I want competition for places. I've been very clear on that with the players. Complacency will not happen under my rule. Under my watch. For a long time, this football club has played well and then gone to sleep for the next 2 or 3 games, thinking that their place is assured or they don't have to turn up the week after. Not here. I think it's pretty clear in terms of the players. Like I said, the game on last Friday was good, but we need to improve still and build on that. There's a long way to go regarding that. We've got a midfield position and 2 wide positions and even a striker perhaps if I can. And yeah, they'll be, like I said, they could be happening very, very soon. We'll see.
You sound very authoritative in what you want. How have you found the challenge of coming in here to this level of competition in a short space of time of what you want to achieve?
Yeah, it's been challenging. It's been hard, authoritative. I mean, like I said right from the outset in my first press conference, there are certain non-negotiables, but it's not at the same time, it's not a dictatorship. I'm pretty clear on what I want as well, but I get buy-in from the players. It's very important that they buy into what they do, and we've set up had a lot of processes set up here where the players have decided and made the changes, and they want them to make changes. It just so happens that they've got a pretty strong leader that's going to back them and it's going to protect them and it's going to be there for them and the football club right throughout. Whether that's with you guys sitting here, which I don't think I'm going to have too many problems with, but I don't look for problems. But it's more so everything else. It's the external factors. It's the fact that no one really wants us to be around the competition. Referees are going to go against us, as we've seen from referees over there as well. People probably not respecting us. I want to bring that back. I want people to respect our football club and be proud of our football club. The way we handle ourselves, the way we look after each other. And they've got a pretty strong guy there that's not going to take much shit from the opposition. I had a bit of a stoush with Kevin Muscat, my old mate, on the weekend. But again, probably in the past they thought they can do that to a club like ours. Ain't going to happen, right? So it has been challenging, but the boys have really bought into that. The boys want success. They also want to be led. They want to know their roles and responsibilities with the team. Every player wants that. I was a player for a long time. Even at the age of 35, I wanted to be led. I wanted to know what my role and responsibility was. That's just normal behaviour for a player, right? They're almost programmed that way. But at the same time, that individuality has to come in them as well. I want them to express themselves. I want them coming here with a smile on their face. And as Max said, it's a very tight-knit group. You probably would have heard some laughs as well in the dressing room before that. That's what we're about. We want to have fun along the way too, because I think in your own workplace, that's important too, isn't it? You don't want to go to work, with a frown or not being happy with what you do. We've worked hard on team unity, camaraderie, and all that sort of stuff. I'm big on that. I'm huge on that sort of stuff. And then, like I said, the boys have really, really bought in. Their habits and behaviours have changed. I've got enough information about where the players were last year and the years gone by. And like anything, you just have to explain to them why. I think that's the most important thing. Every time we do something, there's a reason behind it. And when you explain to them the reasons behind it, then they're all in, if they don't want to buy into it now, it's very easy because right now everyone's solid. So if someone comes in or is doing the wrong thing, they get tapped. My job's easy because the players now are doing my job for me, right? Where they're actually telling that person, hey, that's not what we're about. Ship up or shape out. So they're helping that player now towards teaching them, hey, that's not good enough. We don't take shortcuts. We don't do this. We don't do that. So my job's easy now.
One more from me. What about the place, the challenge of coming to Wellington, whether you might want to answer this or both of you? You know, you're in Wellington, New Zealand now. As you say, with a team perhaps that a lot of people, especially in Australia, may not want them to be involved in that sort of thing. I mean, that's got to be a challenge as well. I mean, you've both come into that sort of environment. How's that been?
You've been in 2 days, you can answer that, Max.
Well, there's a few elements to that. I think, firstly, it's
just one second. I'll move this if I could. Sorry, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, in terms of moving to a new country, this is a great city. This is a great place to live. So that's not difficult at all. And I think Mark touched on it. It's an opportunity this year. It's an opportunity to show what we're about. It's exciting, and that's all we're really focused on, I guess.
And you've heard, you've followed the A-League obviously, and Wellington. They've had some lean years and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I think every club goes through that at points, and I think, you know, with what Mark and the club's trying to do this year, I think we've put the past is the past, and we've just got to work on what we're doing right in the present moment. That's all that really matters.
Just to confirm that, have you 3 more players to sign for the A-League minimum rules? Is there a deadline as well?
Yeah, someone keeps telling me there's a deadline or whatever the date is, but
That'll be Gilly, probably.
it is Gilly. Yeah. Look, we'll they'll be there. They'll be there. It's good because I don't get to see you guys all that often, so it's good to get you guys in and see your faces, and you know, there's a certain time where I don't want to see you, right? So I'll decide when we'll make the signing, so I get to see you again, you know. But we'll be fine, you know. We may even have 21, the way we're going right now, you know. We've got a couple of people that we're still speaking to, you know. So there could be some more to come.
Do you get New Zealanders knocking on your door saying, well, I want to come and...
I think we've been down that path. I think, I'm not sure if you've really heard too much of what I've said in the past, but I think I've pretty much answered that, you know. We open our door to a lot of New Zealand players, and some chose to come, some chose not to. It is what it is. It's not something that I lose sleep over. I sort of questioned it, I won't lie, but you know, it's always important for me to understand where both sides come from, you know. So I've kind of tried to understand that, because maybe the way I am and my expectations are different. You know, if I put myself in their position, what would I have done if I was a young New Zealand player, you know? But then I've got to sort of understand their reasons as well. But like I said, it is what it is. I can't force or put pressure on anybody. You know, it's their life. They can choose to live it however they want. You know, I choose to do it a certain way too, but it's not through a lack of trying anyway. But you know, hopefully in time they, you know, the thing in life is sometimes you only get one opportunity, right? And maybe that opportunity will never come again. And one thing I always said to my players: no regrets. You know, don't look back and think, oh, I had that opportunity, but I didn't take it, and here I am, still where I am, and 5 years goes forward, and they're still probably doing the same thing, and they look back at that opportunity and going, because the way I see challenges, and I said right from the day, this is a huge challenge for me. It's just an opportunity, as Max said. That's the way I look at it. It's a fantastic opportunity, right? And they don't come often in one's life. And maybe you're happy with what you're doing. That's great. Then go along that way and stick down that path. Fantastic. But if you really want to know more about yourself, if you really want to test your boundaries, get out of your comfort zone. You know, that's how I see life anyway, is always put myself in different situations, you know, or, you know, out of my comfort zone to see what I'm really about, because only then will I really know, you know, who I am and what I'm about. And I want the best for my players as well. I want them to experience this thing we call life. It's not just about what we do in the football field. There's more to it than that, you know, and these guys are growing. I see these young people, and I've been in their position before, and I know what they're going through. And that's what sort of hurts me when you've got New Zealanders who say no or they want something else. It's like, you know, like really grab a hold of what do you want in your life? You know, are you happy just to go through the motions because it's easier that way? I like challenging people and giving people opportunities. They can only say yes or no. I can't do more after that.
Just a quick follow-up to Liam's question about the potential deadline coming up with, with a few more signings. I mean, you've mentioned that you prefer to do, get the right quality players as opposed to how.
Do you want positions?
No, not necessarily.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just asking, how comfortable are you in if you would have to change your tact in terms of reducing the time you would have available to you to actually hone in on the player that you want?
I've been working the phone quite rigorously for a while. Okay, so we do a lot of work in a lot of areas to try and get the right sort of person in. So there could be a potential striker to come in, right? Something different than what we've already got. So when you talk about is this how you want to play? Well, I want something different as well, right? So I'm looking for a different type of striker to a Williams, a Burns, and a Krishna. Someone that can hold the ball up, and something that gives us a bit more balance, let's say, depending on the game. I'm looking for wide players as well. So I want competition for places there as well, and an extra midfielder. So, there are potentially 4 positions, which could take us to 21, but I may not get them, all of them. But we're certainly going to have 20 by the start of the season. Is it hard? Everything's hard. That's just part of my job, You come here, you do this, you do that. I'm not going to bore you with all the details of what my job is, but, we have been working extremely hard. I know I have. But the demands that I've placed on other people as well are quite high, and that's like I said, that's how I work. That's my work ethic. That's my expectations, and I expect the same from the boys as well. If we're all going to be better, we all have to lift the bar here at this football club. And I keep saying it to everybody. It's not just about doing it once or twice or for a month or for 2 months. Can you do it for 6 months and 8 months and 12 months? And let's see where we are then, and assess us then, and then let's look at us beyond that. Okay, if I'm still around, if people still like me, that's going to be important as well. So, is it hard? Yeah, it's hard, but I don't think it's that hard. It's just picking up my phone, calling, talking, finding out what the people are like, calling other people, getting more information. It's not hard. It's just talking to people. Pretty easy, really.
Last one. You talk about obviously to talk to people, and you want to bring in quality players and the right sort of players to bring to the Phoenix environment. Have there been any other problems that have sort of stopped you getting these quality players in, or guys that you've got your eye on?
Yeah, there's always obstacles. It's not always easy. I mean, we've had a crack at a few players. But for whatever reason, it hasn't come to fruition. We've chosen not to talk about that because there's no reason to. At the end of the day, they're not a Phoenix player, so I don't want to give them any airtime, right? But we do. We've spoken to a lot of those players, but like I said, I'm pretty confident that we can fill our roster and we'll be extremely happy with what we've got. With an eye on knowing that come January, we want to add to it as well. I haven't spent the money, I'm sure our chairman and owners will be happy with that, right? But at the same time, I've done that for a reason, just in case something comes up. There's also a possibility of getting a loan player. Don't forget under 23 players. So I've got a whole list of that, and I'm looking at that option as well, right? But certainly come January, I know what new faces and fresh faces mean for a football club. At the same time, there are certain people on notice here as well. It's all about performance, it's not about names, whether you're a visa player or not. It doesn't bother me, and I make that quite clear to all the players out there. If only one visa player starts in the first game, then that's the case, right? And I know there's been a lot of talk about New Zealand players and everything else like that. I also want to go on record on against Melbourne Victory, the current champions. We had 6 New Zealanders start that game again in our starting 11. And a lot of you guys probably don't want to talk about that because it's all about where are the Kiwis, 6 of them, if you include Durante, who's played for this country, right? So for me, I call him a Kiwi, he's not an Aussie. He's been here long enough now to wear the black and white. He doesn't even know or own an Australian accent anymore, right? So I think that's a real positive, for our football club as well. Does that mean, or does that transcend into them starting the first game of the season? No. But it certainly is fantastic for myself, knowing that, New Zealanders have put their hand up. And I've said it right from the start, I'd like more of them. And it's good for those ones that perhaps said no, to say, look, these guys are working, extremely hard to get an opportunity, and they're given an opportunity. You know, so I'm pretty proud of that as well. Like I said, there's no guarantees, but it's certainly pretty important. You know, when you talk about where are all the New Zealanders, why aren't they getting a chance? It's the only club, professional club. Well, one, we've certainly given chances, and two, the ones that are here, people actually don't want to look at the positives all that often. They like to look at the negatives. Well, that's a pretty big positive as far as I'm concerned. You know, that we do have quite a few New Zealand players here as it is, right? So I think that's a positive.
Are you chasing a marquee signing for one of those last two spots?
No. No, we sort of went down that path, and they are very hard at this time as well. Don't forget the so-called marquees are kind of unattached. They're training with their club as well, and I'm not chasing a name just for the sake of it. You know, that time was right because it would have given them time to come into our environment in terms of who they are, and you're going to try and market them and all that sort of stuff. And there's nothing worse than bringing in a marquee type and then having to wait 2 or 3 rounds before they can actually start because of physically they're not up to it, and that costs a bit of money too, right? But no, we won't be looking at that. It's not to say that we will not be revisiting that in January as well. So the door hasn't been shut on that one. And I've spoken to a few of you about what I believe the importance is in doing something different. I think the fans and the country deserve a marquee type. I think it would be great for a football club like ours as well to have, but it's got to be the right person too. You know, I think it's pretty clear. Michael Essien, fantastic individual who's really keen. Last minute, whatever happened there, you know, Obafemi Martins was a little bit different. He decided to go a different path because of his injury. But great characters, both of them. They've got to fit into what we're trying to do here. They you know, to be fair to Michael knew a lot about our football club and was really wanting to buy into the project here and help this football club and the level of professionalism grow and things like that. His experience would have been awesome to have around the place. But no, I'm not for now.
And on that note, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Cheers.